There's probably a few hints and tips here, and I can appreciate that all of us have times when we procrastinate or, we distract ourselves, we constantly scroll on social media, or we do the tasks that, are more pleasant or fun to do. I think part of it is about knowing your learning style and your approach. So, for me, it's very practical, pragmatic kind of approach. That's the sort of person that I am. Over the last 12 or more years, I've used a lot of outsources too. Mm-hmm. So I've got myself into thinking through, can I outsource this first rather than what do I need to do, and then I outsource, the admin or a few bits and pieces. I try and think through, how can I make sure that my time is on the things that are really of value, that are basically going to help me make sales, build relationships, those strategic partnerships, one-on-one with clients as well, because what I want clients to understand is that when I'm working with them, I'm there for you rather than other stuff that might be going on, in the background or in my world.
Welcome, my name is Becky and you're watching Accelerating Your Growth, the place to be to take your life and business to the next level. Today's guest is Wendy Perry. Wendy is the Managing Director of Workforce Blueprint, Entrepreneur Facilitator for Switch-Star Scale, and founder of Blue Puppy Ventures. As featured in the November issue of Business Spotlight of SA Woman, to sum up, Wendy Perry in just a few words is a massive challenge. She's an author, educator, entrepreneur, speaker, explorer, mentor, innovator, and leader. And to say that she is a wealth of knowledge and experience is nothing short of an understatement. Her clients include business and industry leaders, entrepreneurs and social enterprises, female founders, innovators, government agencies, not-for-profit, and her work is present all through Australia and internationally. In this interview, Wendy shares part of her entrepreneurial journey, particularly her useful yet straightforward tips about organization and productivity, how to maximize your work while working from home, and your mindset habits, as well as the strategies that you can use to grow continuously and over the long term. Let's get started.
Hello, Wendy. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for accepting the invitation. How are you?
I'm good, Becky, but what about yourself?
I'm really good as well. A little bit hot, but I have the aircon on.
I've got mine in the background as well. It's definitely needed today.
And one of the things that I admire about you and your coaching is your efficiency. And you always focus on results. When do you adopt the phrases that you have at the background there, hustle mode on, and get stuff done?
Well, I was thinking, when was the exact time that I adopted these phrases? I think it was probably when I was more exposed to the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in South Australia and started doing some international work too. So that was around 2014. And look, in this space, there can be some catchphrases, and sometimes, there's words that people use and you think, well, what does that mean? But for my personal hashtag, it is actually humble hustle. Hustle mode on helps me switch into gear. Like, I change the sign, and I also use these hashtags in social media and with clients based upon what I'm doing in the day. So it's a subtle thing that helps me hone in on, what do I need to do today? Do I need to hustle? But obviously humble hustle, not in an appropriate way. Do I need to get stuff done? Have I got a massive to-do list? I've got to power through it, and then I can reward myself kind of at the end. So I guess it kind of emerged from being exposed to more lean startup sort of style thinking, and there's a whole sort of set of language that goes with that. And those couple of phrases just really resonate with me because it makes me do things and it helps my frame of mind.
And they are super effective, Wendy, because Yeah, you are everywhere and you deliver so much value every day. So definitely
Thank you.
work. I'm going to copy them. It's very inspiring everything that you do.
Thanks,
Um,
Becky.
the second question is, well, everyone has 24 hours during the day, but some
Yeah.
people spend time being just busy and without being productive. How people can go from just being like busy to be productive and to feel empowered.
hmm Well, there's probably a few hints and tips here, and I can appreciate that all of us have times when we procrastinate or, we distract ourselves, we constantly scroll on social media or we do the tasks that, are more pleasant or fun to
Yeah.
do. I think part of it is about knowing your learning style and your approach. So, for me, it's very practical, pragmatic kind of approach. That's the sort of person that I am as well, So sometimes I need to pull back from too much action because I need more reflection time and I need to, think things through because I'll always be like on to the next kind of thing. I think I don't have any really strict rules about how I arrange my days as such or my days as the week, but I do
Mhm.
have tools I use.
Mhm.
And over the last 12 or more years, I've used a lot of outsources too. So
Mhm.
I've got myself into thinking through, can I outsource this first rather than what do I need to do and then I outsource, the admin or a few bits and pieces. I try and think through how can I make sure that my time is on the things that are really of value, that are basically going to help me make sales, build relationships, those strategic partnerships, one-on-one with clients as well, because what I want clients to understand is that when I'm working with them, I'm there for you rather than other stuff that might be going on, in the background or in my world.
Mhm. Yeah, excellent. And that's very interesting that you mentioned the assistant that you have. Last time you talked about the virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah, option, right? And something that I remember you mentioned is about yeah, giving up a little bit perhaps of the control that sometimes we tend to like, I don't know, have and try to yeah, do things with their own style. But any advice at the beginning when trying to give the control to other people? How was your experience at the beginning?
At the beginning, I was sort of led to it a little bit kicking and screaming because I can be
Okay.
control freak and pedantic at times. I like things in a certain order, and it's difficult sometimes to think, well, would somebody do this in the way that I would do it? But there's many tasks where they're either entry level or lower level, or they're repetitive type tasks. So if you kind of did a list of all of the tasks that you need to do in your business and you sort of segmented it down to what's below your billable rate per hour, for example, what is repetitive, what is something that takes a lot of time. Like, for example, action research. Like maybe we get a new project or a new program that we're running for a particular industry or region or whatever. I don't need to do all of that research. Easily a virtual assistant can do that. But at first it was a suggestion of Scott, who we also work together, but he's my husband. And he's like, you've got to do this. Like, this is just ridiculous. You've got too much to do.
Yes.
Just try it. So I'm like, okay, we'll try it. And it was necessarily going to work. But we had a VA that we found that did like a 20-hour trial. And, back then they did that for free, but we paid them, of course.
Mhm.
And they work, on certain things. So I don't give them
Yeah.
everything. But they work
Yeah.
on databases, research, finding content for social media was really outstanding.
Excellent, and definitely it has worked because yeah, you have grown, particularly this year. You're skyrocketed your growth. That's excellent.
Yeah, well,
Hmm.
I mean, I also use other outsources too. So, I use graphic designers, video editors, translators. If you think about digital tasks that are easy for somebody to do, anywhere in the world, and we always have a school-based apprentice in our business too. We like to support young people, and they often, do the social media scheduling, the email database updates, the client record keeping, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, excellent. And the third question that I have is there is one quote that says that if we cannot measure something, we cannot improve it. In
Yeah.
we met, I think 3 years ago, and I can see how you have like grown and improved. You were already like very experienced in your field, but yeah, you have expanded. So how do you keep track of your progress in the results that you achieve to keep
Yeah.
with that productivity?
I mean, I guess some of it depends upon what hat that I'm wearing. So, as the entrepreneurship facilitator for Adelaide, I look at qualitative and quantitative stats. So, some of that is, because we won that tender from the Australian government and we funded, and there was a work plan that I had to develop for 18 months at a time normally, and then you update it and it rolls over. And in that, it says how many clients are you going to see a week? How many events are you going to run? What are you going to do? What other kind of marketing and promotional activities will you do to help people learn about self-employment? And so in a way, that structure makes it quite easy to report because I have to then do quarterly reports every 3 months as well. So, you tally up all the stats and the information. And I guess that's one measure, but the measure that I think is more important is the and the feedback that I get from clients. The testimonials, the comments, the aha moments. That's really, that's why I do this work. To be honest, I want people to take control of their lives and of their businesses, and be successful and transform themselves and their families and the community. And so that side of things, kind of rolls up. Often into a bigger picture kind of contribution. That's really what I'm about. And with Workforce Blueprint, where we're doing strategic workforce planning and development, we have programs and tools and things like that, but a lot of our work is project-based. So again, sitting underneath that is a project plan with milestones, outcomes. And I guess, between our other businesses as well, but between all of this, it's not that I actually have a personal set of the KPIs exactly that I hold for myself. I've got stuff for the different businesses, but there is a set of values that are explicit, for our company and the way that we work. And I guess, like lots of people, you're your hardest, critic, or you're the one that drives you the most. So if I don't think that I've done enough in a day, I'll work a little bit longer, that sort of thing. So I guess it's a bit of a balancing act, and it's like any sort of relationship, but this one's sort of with yourself as the founder.
Totally. But I think that what I hear is there is a lot of planning up front. There is a lot of milestone that you set previous to start working, and then obviously you just check, right, if you are on track to achieve them, or if overachieve them as well. Yeah.
For sure, but I think that planning has had to come back a lot shorter this year. So, the company does have a strategic plan that we normally do a 3 to 5 year window. I'm having 2 days away, in December to basically update that strategic plan and have some time to think that through. But through 2020 with COVID, it's probably been more like a 3-month planning cycle, even though we've had longer term plans as well. But you've just shown that you have to be flexible and go with the flow and not too concerned about the things that are outside of your control.
Excellent advice. That's really good. And the next question is related to people working from home. You work with multiple entrepreneurs, different industries, and some of them work from home. Obviously, now in 2020 with the pandemic, there are going to be more people, not just entrepreneurs, but also working for other companies, working from home. Can you please give us some tips that you use on how to organize your daily activities?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the company that I've run is 19, 20 years old, and for a lot of the time I have worked from home, or this is my home office here, my own dedicated study and space. And I do some, hopefully they don't sound weird, but I do some funny things. So, when I get up in the morning and I come down the stairs, I'll go into the kitchen and have breakfast and tea or whatever. Then I'll pick up all of my stuff and my backpack and my laptop, and I'll, come into the office kind of thing. And if anyone's around, I'll be like, oh, honey, I'm off to work now.
Yeah.
In my mind, that walk is a transition sort of thing.
Interesting. Okay.
And I try and schedule, a lunch break. I mean, sometimes I'm eating lunch when I'm meeting with my clients. And I sort of put stuff down and I pop out, to do that. And at the end of the day, it's like, oh, hey, I'm home now sort of thing, and, kind of like rest and relax. So, I joke about my short commute as well, and, not having
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
So I think, again, it's like the humble hustle and hustle mode on and all that. I'm sort of telling myself, really, what to do, because I'm transitioning now. I'm in work mode now. This is where focus. I'm not going to pop out to do the washing or, housework or whatever it might be. So basic little hints and tips which might sound funny. And, when I go home, I do pick up my handbag, I pick up my backpack. If I think I've still got more work to do at home, then I'll laptop and I'll sit in the movie room and I'll, do bits and pieces.
Interesting. That's really good, because I guess it's important to prepare ourselves to do that shift, because I'm feeling it now. Like, I get so distracted at home, and then I feel guilty because I haven't finished some of the things that I need to complete for the day. So I'll start putting in practice.
There's one more thing. There's one more thing, Becky, and I'm a fan of outsourcing. I also outsource the cleaning and the washing and the ironing. And the gardening and the pool cleaning. Whatever I can also outsource at home. It's within the budget and all that sort of thing. I'll do that too, because otherwise it is on your mind and you are thinking about it, and you don't also want to spend your spare time at home. Particularly say when you're in lockdown times. I mean, I know people couldn't come to your house and stuff, but you don't want to spend all your spare time doing that stuff.
That's so true. That's so true, and I agree. I totally agree, Wendy. That's excellent. And it seems so simple, but it is at the end really important, because you are looking after yourself, which is great.
And awesome. I've probably had a cleaner since I was 21, I think it was, since we were
Definitely, I believe that, because it takes time, and then you need to focus on the things that you want to focus. That's great. Thank you for that.
There's logic behind it. Like, if your billable rate per hour is way higher, why would you? And that's another opportunity for another entrepreneur and another business to grow.
Yeah, that's so true. Helping each other in the community. That's so true. I like it.
Yeah.
And now we have some questions related to habits and mindset. And obviously, I imagine that you, like any other person, must feel tired and unmotivated sometimes. How do you manage, Wendy, to fulfill your commitments, always with professionalism, even in the days that you don't feel like it?
Yeah. Well, there's a few things here. I'm not a morning person at all, so I don't start seeing clients until about 10 o'clock, and that goes through until about 5 o'clock, and then I'll have other tasks and things like that to do. I don't fill up my whole week with seeing clients either. I book out specific times, in the office and to catch up. I wasn't as good at doing that, really, up until probably the last, couple of years. The other thing is that through COVID this year, I had many clients that I was coaching and mentoring. And, it was a collective kind of experience in some regards. It was almost like a cycle of grief, starting out with shock and disbelief and anger, and then we kind of got used to it. And, there was a certainly, heightened level of depression. And one thing I had to for myself was that I wasn't taking on too much of what was happening in a negative context to what, you know, my clients were going through. I can be highly empathetic, which is good, but also, you know, it can be upsetting as well. And, you know, you sort of feel really for those people. I'm a kinesthetic person. I put myself in other people's shoes all the time. So I had to just watch that I wasn't doing that too much. And also in the real serious lockdown time, you know, when my mantra is normally like get stuff done or whatever, well, that had to go out the window for a bit. It just had to, let's just chat, let's just see where things are up to, you know, are you okay? You know, people had all sorts of personal relationships, breakdowns, struggling with kids and all that sort of thing. And what happened this year is I got to about August, I think it was July, August, I'm like, I would normally have had a holiday or a break by then. And because, you know, travel, I'm like, oh, you know. Anyway, I just absolutely had to have some time off. So I took about 10 days off because I was, you know, it was hard to keep motivated, focus on your clients. So you've got to sort of make sure you take that break and give the rest to yourself. When I do have events like at night, I'll then, you know, book out, you know, at least the morning till lunchtime or even the whole next day. Like if I've had to do a whole heap of prep and the events run for a couple of hours and it's been huge, you know, and you're lugging, you know, you might be organising the drinks or getting the catering delivered or sorting out the tech or whatever. And I've got people that help me and lots of volunteers. But still, when you're the one emceeing or hosting, there's a lot of energy that goes into that. And even on online sort of interactions too. So around my online webinars, I book out a half an hour either side. And then if I do a big event at night time, half a day or a day, I'll kind of book out just to chill out. But also maybe then follow up with the people that were there with emails and all that kind of communication stuff. So I often sleep in because that's just the way that things work for me. You know, I'll work potentially later at night if I need to, but I won't. I'm just, you know, early morning just don't, you know, suit me. So I'll also sort of take some time off, and you know, I just will be okay with that. Like I already work enough hours, so you know, no one's gonna freak out or tell me off or have a go or anything like that. You know, people are understanding, and I'm just going to manage my time so there's balance there and it's not crazy.
So it's super important, as I can see, to know yourself. When do you work the best? To be okay with that. That's excellent.
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, rarely do I go to breakfasts, and I think most people it's going to be afternoon, evening. You know, is better.
Yeah, that's cool. That's excellent. And recently, and I think you already touched on this as well, that you mentioned in one of the events that you rest, and I think that you already gave heaps of examples with that. Any other tips to recover during the day?
Well, I mean, there's always things that I could do better too, but I like doing mini breaks and things like that, and I really enjoy reading and watching Escape to the Country, you know, so things where you don't really have to think. And you know, I always have like a pile of non-fiction but fiction books too, so there's a little bit of escapism perhaps around that. And I guess just thinking through, well, what's the stuff that you enjoy doing, you know, is it a particular show or reading or writing? I really like writing as well. The only thing with that is that I write a lot in a work context, so getting the time to write more in a personal sort of setting is different, but I just enjoy that kind of process.
Cool. Thank you, Wendy. And I remember the first time that we catch up for coffee, you were like, I learned so much that day. One of the things that I learned is that you were there. You were really paying attention. You were like asking questions, and you had your diary and a pen, and you took notes. And yeah, without you knowing, like you told me heaps of things that day, and um, how important it is when the to be willing to listen, to keep learning for
Yeah.
life and business. What's been your experience through the years?
Well, you meet so many different people, and one of the kind of lessons that I learned early on in my career, I was promoted as a educational manager at the age of 25, and I'm like 47 now. And in this role that I went into, I didn't know, I mean, I knew the different departments and areas that people work, but I didn't necessarily know their job titles at all. So I would speak to, a trainee or an entry level admin person the same as a senior manager kind of thing. And it would be, with your notebook and with your pen and paper to any keywords, phrases, ideas, things that would help me remember, the conversation or actions or whatever it might be. And perhaps it's just a learning style thing as well, but that helps cement things in my brain. And it's kind of like what you do in any sort of relationship, but I guess working with clients, it's still like a business development relationship where you're not being the direct interviewer and pulling all the information out. You're having a natural, normal, authentic conversation, but they should be speaking, more than you. I have like an 80-20 rule normally, and this is a bit different because you're sort of interviewing. 80% of the time the other person's speaking, I'm listening. Often those notes and putting stuff together then helps gel in my mind, maybe suggestions or things that they haven't thought of, or I'm often working with people on their intellectual property and their systems. And when they talk, that's already from their brain. They already know what it is, but they might not articulate it in a way. So when people speak, I can pull out keywords or phrases or put things together and then go, what about this? Is that what we're sort of talking about? So, those keys of, confirmation, clarifying back, checking that, our understanding is the same. And maybe some of that also has been highlighted from the work that I do in other countries too, where I'm often potentially working with an interpreter or, people where English is their second, third or fourth language even. So I try and listen really intently and watch body language and things like that to make sure I get the understanding of what the person's meaning.
That's awesome. That's great. And now that you mentioned, your work overseas as well, you manage 3 businesses, is that right? 3 businesses on your own?
Yeah, sort of support a couple of others as well. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so obviously here in Australia and overseas, for example, I just want to share some data to our audience. Just in Switch Star Scale, as an entrepreneurship facilitator, you have helped in less than 2 years around over 164 clients, providing over 1,000 individual sessions, attended more than 7,000 group sessions, and done over 3,000 referrals. What is the
Yes.
key? What is the key to consistent growth? And how do you maintain that success over the long term? Because you said that you started 19 years ago.
Yeah. So 2002 is when I started the company and Workforce Blueprint. Switch Start Scale started in January 2019. So those stats would be more now because we've just done another quarterly report. 7,000, that is the number of people that have been to our events that I've hosted. So, one of the strengths I'd say is the networking side of it and the connections and relationships. So a lot of the work that, would come to the company, it would not be, it's like proposals and things. It wouldn't be advertised, broadly at all. It basically boils down to the specific expertise and capability, but the way that we work as well. So with Workforce Blueprint, during strategic workforce planning and development, it's a very specialised kind of area. And because we don't only do the strategic, some people do a nice glossy report, We help people with the implementation, and we've got that track record. That really is a point of difference. A lot of our work would come from referrals or word of mouth, or we don't even necessarily have any competition when we're putting proposals in and so on. And that is because myself and colleagues and things, we have worked really hard on building like a massive network. I use LinkedIn on a daily basis, have 27,000 connections there. There's probably about 50 or 60,000 that follow, all together on social media. And there's an email database close to 40,000. So the discipline of reaching out and connecting, having that as part of your daily practice, being strategic about who it is. In Switch Start Scale, people might not realise, or you may, is that the events, whether they're online or offline, help drive the one-on-one clients. And that's because it's an easy yes to come along to a networking event or to learn something and get a little bit of exposure as to what it might then be like to work with, me as the Entrepreneurship Facilitator one-on-one. And that network has grown so significantly that a lot of my clients just refer friends, families, colleagues to me all the time, and I hardly have to do I've never done any paid advertising, really. We do a lot of social media and sharing, but the events, and pulling that into your database, and then, reaching out to those people to say, hey, you can tap into this free, one-on-one coaching and mentoring service if you want. That's what also helps drive the one-on-one side of it. But it's about database and connections and having enough of them and being known in a space, with a good, credible reputation.
How many people do you reckon would be a good number for a person that wants to start to build that network of people? How many people would they need to add in LinkedIn or connect per week?
Okay, well, maybe, per week or per day, like 5 to 10 per day. It's sort of what I recommend. And the thing about something like LinkedIn is if you only have a few hundred connections, don't go, I'm not sure about that person. The more connections that you have in common, the more likely they're to accept. If you're a second connection, maybe even a third connection, the more likely they are to accept. Of course, if they met you, if they know you, they're probably likely to accept. But I sort of had this realisation that, and I know some people have a rule, I'm not going to connect with anybody unless I've met them face to face. Well, I don't know about you, but there's no way that I could physically meet everybody that I want to in the world face to face. It's just not possible. So I'm actively working on those networks and connections, but not just always, random people. If I'm reaching out to people, it's normally area of expertise in common. They're a company that I wanted to, something into, they're a colleague, or they might help with referrals. And I have a policy of accepting everybody who requests me on LinkedIn too. And then if they inbox me or ask me for a date or try and market to me, delete.
Why is that? Because
I just because they are often their messaging is totally about themselves without a copy and paste, and they haven't really looked at exactly what I'm involved in. It's not personalised, it's just like trying to sell me stuff.
Okay.
I also recommend that when you do connect with people, you don't message them straight away either. Like you need to really have a reason to message or reach out with some sort of other exchange.
Okay, that's really good. We need to pay attention to the tips because obviously they work. And almost to finish the question, the interview, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs in 2020 and moving forward?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that this year has shown that those networks and connections are really, really important. And, for many people it has been tough. For lots of other people, it's been a bit of a boom, to be honest. So it's not like people are at opposite ends of the scale. There's a bit of a continuum in the middle. But even people that are busy and rushed off their feet, like that's been challenging and, hard for people with their mental health and so on, as opposed to also, all your sales or whatever have cancelled. You've then got people in the middle that have kind of questioned, do I really want to be doing this? do I need to change? I talk about pivoting positively and pivoting until you've got no moves left. Some people give up too early. So that networking connection, whether or not that's family and friends, but also the business community, because many people in business, we've got a lot in common actually about what this year might have done for us and what we're thinking and feeling about our business. I have seen a number of people where things have gotten really serious in terms of mental health. So supporting them in terms of referrals or reaching out to professionals that might be able to support them has been really, really key. The other part to this year is that I reckon we've seen more innovation in a year than we have in many, many years. It's not just the tech side of it. It is completely about, considering what can I do now? Can I do something different? How am I going to still, like, for example, I was doing a lot of speaking internationally and I had trips lined up to the US.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore, but what can I do? I think people remember your actions and your behaviours and how you've treated other people.
Yes, I agree. That's great advice, Wendy. And what's the best way to connect with you? And if you want to share a little bit more of the most exciting project that you are working at.
Yeah, well, there's probably a couple. So with the Entrepreneurship Facilitator service, that is funded by the Australian government, and there's 23 entrepreneurship facilitators around the country. That service is called Switch, Start, Scale, and you can access that for free if you are based in South Australia. So probably the best place is the switchstartscale.com.au website. With Workforce Blueprint, again, if you go to workforceblueprint.com.au, you'll get a sense of the sorts of initiatives and projects that we are working on, and that's where we do a lot of those international programs or industry-based opportunities. And the thing that I'm working on is called Blue Poppy Ventures, and I've had this business name for ages because I went to Bhutan, where blue poppy is the national flower. Anyway, what I'm working on there is helping entrepreneurs in developing countries and communities, providing handmade, like material-based items, but also online services like virtual assistant, digital type services, where, those countries, a number of those countries are just really suffering in terms of the high unemployment rate, particularly with youth and with women. So that's been in the background for ages. And I guess, like lots of people, this year has brought to the fore a new project, a new program. That's another area I'm working on with, e-learning type programs. But things that are on the back burner have sort of come forward, and maybe we've had a little bit of time to do that or just consider what's important too.
Fantastic. And you are more active in LinkedIn, you said, right? LinkedIn and Facebook.
LinkedIn is probably my number one platform, but I'm also active in Facebook on a daily basis too. So if you follow any, you can connect with me, with Wendy Perry on LinkedIn, connect with me there. Switch, Start, Scale, Workforce Blueprint on Facebook is where you'll see a lot of news and information. We share a lot of content, events, accelerators, incubators, grants, funding, all this kind of stuff.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, and I can totally say that working with you has personally helped me. So I totally recommend you and all the projects that you are participating in. So thank you, Wendy. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Becky. I really appreciate it. Thanks for that recommendation too. That's lovely.
Yes, and all the best for the new projects. And we continue working together. Thank you so much.
We'll do. No worries. Thanks, Leah.